Okay, you guys, we're now going to take a look at problem 5-2 on page 288. Now here in this chapter we're dealing with business that uses a process cost system. And I didn't mention that in the earlier video in the chapter, or I did mention it, I just didn't talk about it much because we went over that in managerial accounting. But just for a refresher, a process cost system works well when we're producing a large number of units that are all the same. For instance, maybe coffee tables, and each coffee table is an identical unit. Okay, so there's no need to assign costs to specific orders or jobs from customers. Instead, we'll just assign costs to the various production departments. And then as the units move through the manufacturing facility, we'll transfer the cost along with the units through the manufacturing facility. And eventually, we'll transfer a cost into finished goods, divide by the number of units produced, and get a cost per unit. We did that in managerial. The way this one's different here in cost accounting is they realize that not only our number of units produced during the month is not only the number of units transferred to finished goods, but also any work that we've put into units that are still in work in process at the end of the month. We should count that in that month's production as well. They do that through use of equivalent units. So if we have, for instance, 4,000 units in ending work in process, and they're 1/2 complete, that would be 2,000 equivalent units. So that's really how this one's different. Let's go through Aaron Company here on problem 5-2, again on page 288. They say Aaron Company uses the process cost system. The following data taken from the organization's books reflect the results of manufacturing operations during October. This just happens to be the month we're in. Happy Halloween, by the way. Okay, we got production cost, work in process at the beginning of the period. Now this first part of the problem is just a restatement of what they've given you. Materials in beginning work in process were 2,600. Labor, 2,300 in beginning work in process. Factory overhead, 1,000. And that's a total. Sum those. 5,900. Okay, for cost of production for the month, materials, 10,000. Labor, 7,500. And factory overhead, 6,000. We'll sum those as well. $23,500. All right, now we're going to add the 5,900 and the 23,500. Get our total cost to be accounted for the month of October, 29,400, and we're going to work our way back to that number down here. Okay, so we first want to determine how many units should be included in output for the month of October. So the number of units finished and transferred to finished goods during the month is 13,000. Alright, the equivalent units of work in process at the end of the month. Well, we had 2,000 units started, 1/2 complete, so that's equal to 2,000 times 1/2 or 0.5. So that's 1,000 equivalent units. We'll sum those two, and that gives us 14,000 total equivalent production, or total units that we're going to count for the month of October. Okay, now the unit cost for the month on materials. Okay, so what we're going to do is take all of our materials costs for the month divided by the 14,000 units. So this is going to be equal to materials in beginning work in process, 2,600, plus our materials used during the month, the 10,000, and we're going to divide that by the 14,000, and that gets us 90 cents is our unit cost of materials during the month of October. We'll do the same thing for labor. Take the labor cost in beginning work in process plus labor cost for new units during the month, units started during the month I should say, and divide that by our 14,000 units. It gets us 70 cents. And then once again we'll use that same formula for factory overhead. Factory overhead in beginning work in process plus factory overhead on new units began during the month, divided again by the 14,000. So our unit cost on factory overhead is 50 cents. Now we can sum these to get our total unit cost, $2.10. Alright, so now we'll move to inventory. Alright, and under inventory costs, we got cost of goods finished and transferred to finished goods during the month. Okay, and that's going to be equal to our 13,000 units finished and transferred to finished goods during the month times our unit cost of 210. That gets us 27,300. Right, then cost of work in process at the end of the month. Well, how many units did we have in work in process at the end of the month, or how many equivalent units? Well, that's going to be our 1,000 up here, so we're going to say it's equal to our 1,000 units times the unit cost for materials. And then labor, again, equal to the 1,000 units times our unit cost for labor. And our 1,000 units times the unit cost for factory overhead. All right, now here we could say the 1,000 units times the 210, or we could add all these up. Either way, you get 2,100. Now, total production cost to be accounted for, we're just going to add together the 27,300 and the 2,100, and that's going to get us back to 29,400, which is our total cost to be accounted for up here. Just breaking it down two different ways, you guys. Okay, now after working this one with me, I don't think you'll have any problem with the next homework assignment, problem 5-1. And good luck. Thanks.